Kimchi Karen, is that racist? I thought that was her name. If I was like Kim, that's a normal name. Who was up in arms about the illegal alien removed from a plane, is running around buying up the junk from illegal alien street vendors to give them hope. The California school system should just produce communist SJWs by the thousands. And like someone else reported it. I don't know what NGOs, it just seems like a random lady buying goods from illegal street vendors in LA to get them off the street to prevent them from being deported. The story has twists and turns, I guess.
Yeah, we're looking for people that are selling flowers so we can buy them.
She's not just buying flowers, she's bringing hope. Hester Jean Lee is driving around LA searching for immigrant street vendors to buy them out of their entire stand.
We can't turn a blind eye. We cannot become desensitized to what's actually happening to this community.
She's raised more than $30,000 from her followers, turning donations into life-changing moments for families who she fears.
Oh, so she's raising donations. She's getting money from other people to buy out illegal immigrant stands in LA. And she can't even use her own money to do it. Oh, man.
Might be the target of federal agents.
But the fact that we have to worry about...
So what you're saying is that people should send her videos to the federal agents so that the federal agents know where the vendors are and can more accurately scoop them up with efficiency?
Being separated from our families forever? It doesn't really...
No, you can be deported together. We don't want to separate families.
Take much for somebody to think that's wrong.
She blurs their faces for their safety, but the gratitude, boy, you can feel it.
People are starving for hope. People are absolutely so desperate.
They're probably just like, look at this dumb bitch. She's just giving me all this money. What?
For any kind of good news.
And the good, oh boy, it keeps on coming.
This is free for you today. From the community to you guys.
Everything she buys, she gives away for free.
You guys want some free flowers? Courage is not something that you are given. It is not something that needs to be given permission. You can do all the things.
It's wild. She thinks 2,000 isn't much. Yeah, when it's donated from other people. Yeah, this is someone who does not understand the value of a dollar. And it is insane to me. I've had friends who are like that, where it's just like, oh, no problem. I know you're on hard times. I'll pay for you. No big deal, you know? And they're just like, oh, that's not even that much anyways. And it's like, bro.
That you want to do. And if one of those things is to care, you can start doing that now.
And caring can certainly be contagious. What do you think about the story? Comment down below and give us a follow.
I don't like that guy's face. Like, he just looks like so disingenuous and creepy. He makes me feel really fucking uncomfortable. Like, the way that he smiles is just unnatural, man. That's not normal. That's creepy. I don't like this guy. Male feminist face, true and real. He looks like a psychopath pretending to be happy. Yeah, it's like Mark Zuckerberg. I learned this human language. Switzerland is experiencing its first migrant riots. Violence broke out in Lausanne. I don't know how to pronounce Switzerland towns, I'm sorry. After a 17-year-old drove a stolen scooter into a brick wall and died while trying to escape the police. Around 100 other young criminals later smashed up the neighborhood, clashed with the riot police, and tried to launch a local anti-immigration politician from the SVP party. Tried to lunch? Do they mean lynch? As can be seen in the video below, for decades, Switzerland was spared the emergence of no-go zones in its larger cities, as has happened in other countries in Western Europe. But increased immigration over the past 2 decades, coupled with cultural influence from no-go zones in neighboring France, means that the state of affairs is quickly coming to an end. Why is it? Can I just ask? Why is it that it seems to transcend country that no matter where these illegal quote-unquote migrants happen to go, whenever one of them is retarded enough to flee from police and get themselves killed, why is the answer always to riot? Why is the consequences of their actions causing them to riot and inconvenience the native population? Like, I just don't get it. How is this behavior so consistent in every country they go to? How dare you enforce your laws? Yeah, right? Well, they're kicking the fuck out of someone. I don't know if that's the anti-immigration politician or not. Well, I feel like if you're an anti-immigration politician and this happens to you, all you're gonna do is like, I came up with solutions previously. The next time it will be final. Like, why would you do this? Like, because unlike in their home nations, we don't meet their riots with machine gun fire. Well, learn from past experiences in Europe. Live ammo. You see, I mean, Twitter comment. Poland had the right idea after a spear was chucked at their border control. Lethal force. Did that actually happen? How? What? Polish border guard dies after being wounded in attack on Belarusian border. And this was last year, brother. What the fuck? A Polish border guard who was wounded in an attack on the Belarusian border in late May died of his injuries on June 6th. The General Command of the Polish Armed Forces announced. The guard was stabbed with a makeshift spear through the border fence between Poland and Belarus on May 28th. The attack was reportedly carried out by a migrant who was attempting to illegally cross the border. The General Command said the injured border guard died in a hospital in Warsaw. Following the attack, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, dudes get the same first name and last initial as our president, said the country plans to create a 200-meter wide buffer zone along its state border with Belarus. Following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Poland's relations with Russian ally Belarus have deteriorated. Warsaw has also long accused Belarus of deliberately pushing migrants into Poland in order to pressure the EU over sanctions, a charge Belarus has denied. Tusk announced earlier in May that Poland plans to invest 10 billion zlotys, 2.55 billion USD, in strengthening its borders with Russia and Belarus to deter potential aggression. Prime Minister first mentions his plans to fortify Poland's entire eastern border with Belarus due to a growing hybrid war and illegal migration on May 11th. You see, this is why I wouldn't be cut out to be a politician, right? Because I would read a story like this and be like, it's time to just start shooting them. If they're killing our border guards, it's time to just indiscriminately start shooting at anyone who attempts to cross the border. Like, I don't care about their story. I don't care where they're coming from. I don't care who they are. If they're coming up to the border fence and not going through a checkpoint, they just get led. That's just the end of it. That's what the Dominican Republic does to Haiti, is shoot on sight. Yeah, the Dominican Republic does not fuck around. I remember reading a few years back, the Dominican Republic instituted a policy where any Haitian living in the Dominican Republic, if they couldn't prove at least 3 generations of living in the Dominican Republic, they would get deported. So it didn't matter if they were living there legally. It didn't matter if their parents lived there legally. If their parents had immigrated there and didn't have grandparents who lived in Dominican Republic, they would just all get deported. I was like, that is fucking crazy brutal. Holy shit. South African politician criticized by Trump is found guilty of hate speech. Wow, something happened in South Africa and it wasn't just more murders. Cape Town, South Africa, South African politician accused by the Trump administration of being at the forefront of an anti-white movement was found guilty of hate speech Wednesday for race-fueled comments he made in 2022. Julius Malema, who is the leader of a small opposition party, was found guilty by an equality court over comments he made at a political rally. No white man is going to beat me up and call myself a revolutionary the following day, Malema said at the rally. You must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act. Malema has previously been found guilty of hate speech in a separate case for repeating an apartheid-era chant at rallies that contained the words, "Shoot the Boer." The word Boer refers to South Africa, minority white Afrikaner farmers. The decision to find him guilty of hate speech in that case was later overturned. And this is exactly why, like, right, I would expect this article I'm reading right now to not exist. Because, like, how many years have they been chanting, shoot the Boer, kill the Boer, and it's, like, it's just been completely fine, you know? Malema, who leads the far-left Economic Freedom Fighters Party, featured prominently in a video U.S. President Donald Trump played in the Oval Office during a meeting with South African leader Cyril Ramaphosa in May. The video was used to confront Ramaphosa with false claims that the South African government was allowing the widespread killing of white farmers to seize their land. I wonder if anything is going to happen, or if it's just like, hey, we charged him with hate speech and then it's just going to be dropped later. Or if because Trump used this to humiliate the leader, that the leader's gonna make an example out of Malema. I would love for the second to happen. False claims. Yeah, I wish that this sentence was also phrased differently, right? Because, like, when I read this, and I remember covering the story when Trump did this, when I read this, it was Ramaphosa claiming that the South African murders were false, that there were no murders, that nothing was happening, and Trump used the video to show him, no, that's not true. You either have no idea what's going on in the land that you rule, or you are lying. Like, it was decisively a humiliating thing to have happen as a leader. That allegation is at the center of the Trump administration's move to cut all financial assistance to South Africa over what it calls the black-led government's anti-white and anti-American policies. The South American government says the U.S. criticism is based on misinformation. And it's not. You're just lying. Malema, who is a lawmaker but not in government, has often been condemned in his own country for his political speech. He was twice denied a visa to travel to the UK this year because of his public statements, which include support for the Palestinian militant group Hamas. That's crazy that some guy can get denied visas to the Caliphate of the United Kingdom for speech promoting Hamas. But Twitch is completely fine with people saying pro-Hamas shit on the platform. That's crazy. The UK government has more sense than something else? I never thought I'd see the day. Holy fuck. It's like I've wanted this to be added to the no taxes on tips for ages, and it's finally happening. And I was like, look, just before I get too excited, before I pee all over my PC towel, I gotta look for a source, right? Because this could just be fucking nonsense, right? It could just be someone gassing us up for no reason. But no, Business Insider. Influencers are among the winners of Trump's no tax on tips policy. Influencers are set to benefit from no tax on tips. Influencers helped Donald Trump win the presidency. Now they're getting a reward on their tax bills. As a part of Trump's no tax on tips policy, digital content creators will be able to claim a tax deduction next year on the portion of their income that comes from tips, a Treasury spokesperson confirmed to Business Insider. Now, before I read, because my question might be answered if I read farther, but I'm a woman, so I must ask questions ahead of time. I'm wondering if this means that Twitch and YouTube are going to have to give us our forms differently. Because as of right now, like, YouTube lumps all ad revenue, all subscription revenue, all super chat revenue. That's just all bundled together. It's not split apart into different categories when they give us the payment and when they give us the forms at the end of the year for taxes. So I'm wondering if they're gonna have to start splitting those apart, because part of that obviously isn't tips. So I'm not really sure. In a draft list of qualifying occupations provided to Business Insider and first reported by Axios, the Treasury describes digital content creators as people who produce and publish on digital platforms. That's me! I'm a people! They list streamers, online video creators, social media influencers, and podcasters as examples. Many influencers derive the bulk of their earnings from advertising or brand deals. However, some, including Twitch streamers and OnlyFans creators, lean towards subscriptions and tips. What constitutes a tip on social media may be less concrete than on a bar tab or restaurant check. Most social media platforms offer some form of tipping under various names. On Twitch, they're referred to as bits. On TikTok, they're called gifts. And on YouTube, they're super chats. Tipping is common on OnlyFans, where creators offer tip menus for viewers to pay for custom content or video chatting. No tax on tips was one of Trump's key economic campaign pledges during the 2024 campaign, and was one of several key changes to the tax code included in the Big Beautiful Bill that Congress passed in July. Under the new law, workers and occupations that customarily and regularly receive tips will be eligible to claim a deduction for those tips up to $25,000. That deduction gradually phases out for individuals making more than $150,000 a year, or a married couple making $300,000 a year. Well, that seems a little silly to have, like, arbitrary phases of, like, if you make more than this amount of money, then you have to pay taxes on it. Because then you're not going to be making that amount of money, are you? And also, only up to $25,000 is an interesting thing to do. So kind of some deflation, unfortunately, here. That's how our tax system works anyways. Yeah, welcome to the progressive tax code. It's usually that past that point becomes taxed. Hopefully it'll be like past that point where like you can still claim the deduction if you make up to that much. But then like you can't claim more than that, I guess. I don't know. That still seems a little stinky. Top earners on Twitch or TikTok who bring in millions annually won't qualify, but the less famous middle class of influencers likely will. Unlike some other parts of the bill, this one takes effect quickly. Workers who qualify will be able to claim the deduction on tips they've received this year when they do their taxes early next year. The policy is temporary and set to expire after 2028, though Congress could decide to extend it or make it permanent down the road. Well, that's also kind of unfortunate that it's only temporary. I wonder why it's only temporary until 2028. The law requires that the Treasury Department publish a final list of the occupants that are eligible for the deduction within 90 days of the bill's passage. Other occupations included in the draft list were beverage and food service workers, dancers and musicians, and hospitality workers. Terroristic threat arrests. Kendra Noel Manning, a social media influencer, was arrested Sunday after police said she threatened to plant a bomb at the San Japan Anime and Gaming Convention held last weekend at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. So, that's interesting. That's interesting that it says she was arrested Sunday. The gaming convention was held last weekend. So, if this had been a real threat, they would have been too late. They would have been too late to stop it. What the fuck? Influencer faces felony charge for bomb threat at San Japan Anime and Gaming Convention. 25-year-old woman was arrested Sunday after police said she threatened to plant a bomb at the San Japan Anime and Gaming Convention held last weekend at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. San Antonio police charged Kendra, 25, a social media influencer, with making a terroristic threat to impair public service, a third-degree felony. The arrest report states that Manning replied to an Instagram story posted by another booth renter, writing, "Planting a bomb in their booth today," in reference to her dislike of the gaming nutrition company Gamer Subs. Well, you know, you could always buy Queso's Nuclear Bomb Pop. It's a great flavor, and you can use code Kirsche for 10% off your orders. Another attendee, concerned the threat could be real, alerted convention management, who in turn contacted police. Officers barred Manning from entering and issued a criminal trespass warning. Police said the comments and behavior sparked real safety concerns and left people worried that a mass violence event could break out. Manning later acknowledged making the post before leaving the venue. Manning also posted a $35,000 bond. That's a lot! If convicted, Manning can face up to 10 years in prison. The case remains under investigation. That's insanity! That's crazy, brother! This made it to your feed today and you were so bewildered. Why would you threaten to bomb Gamer Subs of all the things? Like, it's so easy to just be like, I don't really like them, and then just move on. Like, what the fuck? Supermax mental asylums are looking more and more appealing as more loony leftists come out of the woodwork. And it's funny you say that, because Mr. Tony Ortiz here did say, ran Manning's voting history, and it shows her as voting in Democrat primary elections. So, you know, that's on the nose. Supposedly was related to an in-character thing. Yeah, see, the only thing that says that is on the initial post, someone said, a little context for the commenter, she was cosplaying Harley Quinn and made a joke about planting a bomb, which someone took seriously. I understand that those types of jokes need to not be taken lightly, but this is a bit misleading to her character. And I would be like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, except in the news article, it says that she replied to an Instagram story posted by another booth renter, in which she replied to them planting a bomb in their booth today, which could still be a joke, right? It could still, you know, you could shoot up the Walmarts, right? Could still be a joke. But saying that she was cosplaying Harley Quinn has nothing to do with whatever the fuck she's posting online. You looked into her, she has a lot of Trump derangement syndrome. Oof! Doing it as a reply seems suspicious. Truly and really. Once again, we have Ozehara here. Said, fun fact! Most of the people that work at these booths are randoms that have nothing to do with the brand or the product. So there's an extremely high chance that if you were to be successful in actually planting an explosive, more likely than not, you'll end up harming a few random people who just took on a part-time job and random convention attendees who might be checking the booth out because they're offering free samples and or participating in whatever fun/gimmicky thing they have going over on at the booth. Which is 100% true. This is just like, you are endangering and harming innocent people regardless of how you feel about a brand. And it's again also interesting how after a bunch of articles were posted on Vice and a bunch of mentally ill people were trying to deplatform me and go after my sponsors, of which GamerSupps is one. After that, even after I got the articles pulled, we had one crazy guy mention me on his social media who only started interacting with my posts after those libelous articles. And now we have this person making bomb threats at GamerSupps. So it's like, way to go. Way to go, like, Bint and Yara and Anna for radicalizing people into actually causing real-world harm. Good job, guys. I hope you're proud of yourselves. Influencer faces felony charge for bomb threat. There was an attempted influencing. It's actually crazy. These people are already radicalized. They just needed targets. Oh, I hate that you're probably correct. ProZD left Twitter after criticism for voicing a non-Asian character despite advocating that voice actors should match their character's race. He complained about being typecast in Asian roles but faced backlash for hypocrisy when he took a white character role. Instead of retracting, he doubled down and played the victim. The voice acting industry needs reform. We'll likely see more of his hypocrisy on Blue Sky. And Sungwon Cho's post is, "Hey all, this will be my last tweet on this platform. I will no longer be using Twitter after this." And that was a lie because he blocked so many fucking people after posting this. Even if you're only using Twitter to block people, you're still using Twitter. If you look at the replies on my latest announcement tweet, you'll see a lot of comments like this, and this has been going on for years now. While the normal procedure has been to block and move on, I truly don't think Twitter is worth it anymore. In the past, I've expressed that I think diversity in casting is important. It's a complicated topic, but at the end of the day, I still stand by this. I think it's important for all voice actors to be given an equal opportunity, and I think there have been positive changes on that front. A lot of bad faith arguers have tried to paint this as me saying things I've never said. No, this guy is not for equal opportunity. He is for DEI, and I don't think anybody rational cares if the race of the person voice acting a character matches the race of the character they're voice acting. It doesn't matter if you're white and you voice a black character, or if you're black and you voice an Asian character, or if you're Asian and you voice a white character. The problem, Mr. ProZD, is that you don't want white people to have the same opportunities as everyone else. It is literally just that simple. I've been reluctant to address this for years because I know a lot of these people will not listen to reason no matter what I say, and I have not wanted to add to this ongoing drama. Man, if people were misconstruing what you said, it would be so fucking easy to just clear it up. It would be so fucking easy. What do you mean? Twitter especially is a cesspool for hatred, and it's always been awful these past few years. But I think it's important for people to know that this has been happening. This is the last time I'll comment on any of this. Goodbye, Twitter. You truly suck ass. If Twitter sucks ass, then ProZD sucks something way, way worse than that. Like a rotting, diseased cow's ass that's been fermenting in Chinese gutter oil. Like, I don't even know, right? Like, holy shit. And then Asmongold responded and said he never believed that shit to begin with. He just used it to bully companies into giving him roles and to disadvantage his competition. Completely deserves all of the hate, turned the industry toxic, and now the toxicity has turned on him. And I mean, that's a good point, right? It's possible that ProZD genuinely believes the Kool-Aid that he drinks, because as we can see, a lot of people on the left have that hypocrisy mentality of rules for thee but not for me. So it's not that he doesn't believe in it, he believes in it for everyone but himself. But it could also just be, hey, I don't really give a shit about any of this equity racial crap, but if I use it to my advantage, I can make sure that I get more voice acting roles over other people. So either way, he just looks like an asshole. I don't know if he's actually going to get cut from roles due to this. It feels a little unfair, I suppose, after seeing what's happened to some other voice actors, if he would get to keep roles. But we'll see. We'll see. Considering he advocated for people to have less opportunity, I would not feel bad at all. Rip Bozo. Andy Ngo here posted a tweet that said, the internet mob owes the mother of the Minnesota trans mass shooter an apology. She had her back against the wall when everyone, absolutely everyone, told her if she didn't support her son's trans identity, he would kill himself. She left Minnesota in heartbreak. And I mean, we here are also guilty of this, right? I mean, she acted suspiciously as well by, instead of doing anything, she was like, I'm gonna retain criminal, like lawfare people. I was like, that's a weird thing to do. That's very suspicious. Mary Grace Westman has been demonized for her son's transition and subsequent violent extremism, but new information reveals the public may have been wrong. I spoke to someone who knows the family of the Minneapolis trans mass shooter. This is Andy Ngo once again. According to this source, it was Jim Allen Westman, not Mary Grace Westman, who was the most affirming of Robert's gender dysphoria. Jim is very liberal, as I saw on his social media before he deleted it. Before and after the divorce, the couple's 5 children allegedly looked to him for affirmation on choices their mother wouldn't support. Mary Grace was very conservative and Jim was not, the source says. She had been involved in pro-life activism and had given birth to many children. Because of this dynamic, the kids always went behind Mary Grace's back to Jim for approval of doing things she didn't approve. I'm gonna put a push pin in here for 1 second. This is why whenever the topic of like, you're all gonna make it, get a woman who loves you comes up, you really have to try and not think with your dick. I don't care how attractive that like liberal arts degree woman is, or how grippy that pussy gon' be because she should be in a mental institution. It's not worth it, bro. If you and your significant other do not have the same foundational baselines of how you approach life, you're going to be diametrically opposed and one of you is going to do something terrible to the children. It's just not gonna work. You cannot have a good lasting relationship with someone who is diametrically opposed to you politically, because the things you believe politically inform your worldview, inform how you move through the world, and inform how you raise your children. But you don't understand, I can fix her. Some people are unfixable, chat. And you have to internalize the fact that if they don't want to fix themselves, there is nothing you can do. In the aftermath of the Annunciation Catholic Church mass shooting on Wednesday, Miss Westman, 67, has been ruthlessly vilified by mobs on social media because her signature appeared on the court paperwork that allowed Robert to legally transition as a minor. In Minnesota, both parents typically have to consent to a child's identity change. But the source believes Miss Westman was under immense pressure from professionals, doctors, and family, all warning her that unless she signed, her son would kill himself. This threat is a familiar line from mainstream trans groups: transition or suicide. The online mob rage against Miss Westman grew as Minneapolis police said she wasn't returning contact with them from her home in Naples, Florida. She also retained a criminal defense lawyer. It is not unusual for someone not to speak to law enforcement without retaining counsel. Her Florida home was visited by the FBI after the shooting, but no one appeared to be there, according to local media. She was reportedly on her way back to Minnesota to be with her children. Mr. Westman, 62, lives in Minneapolis and is a geographic information systems application developer for tech company Esri. The company is a world leader in developing software for digital maps. According to the source, the Westmans divorced due to a values misalignment regarding child rearing. Chat, I'm always right. Never marry someone that has a values misalignment with you, chat. Miss Westman was very much a traditionalist. She had 6 children in her life, the first of whom, a baby girl, was given up for adoption when the mother was young. Mr. Westman worked in tech and was not religious or conservative. After the divorce, the father kept the family home in Hastings, Minnesota, and he later took on a new partner. Miss Westman relocated to a small condo in Eagan, Minnesota, where she continued working in the administration of the Annunciation Catholic Church and school before moving to Florida in 2022. Robert was the youngest of 5 children and experienced a difficult divorce between his parents, the source says. Shortly after she signed the form for Bobby, she moved to Florida after he turned 18. She was heartbroken over all of this. She moved away from all of us. Thanks, anonymous source. The source added, Mary Grace did not share with us that she signed the identity change paper for Bobby. She probably would not have been able to face us, but we all still would have loved and accepted her decision, knowing that her back was against the wall. The shooter himself admitted in his manifesto that his mother was not supportive of his transition, and he resented her for it. I remember one day she said something like, in the future you will look back and feel ridiculous about who you feel like you are inside. You will regret this, the shooter wrote in his manifesto. He also confessed that he had come to realize he'd been brainwashed into becoming trans. But by then, he wrote, it was too late to go back. Gender and weed fucked up my head, he wrote. I wish I never tried experimenting with either. Normally, I would laugh, but considering his age, if he was smoking weed as like an underdeveloped teenager, yeah, that's going to fuck up your head. Do not smoke weed as a young teen, bro. Like, holy shit. For him, detransitioning would mean admitting defeat, and he worried it would thwart his murder-suicide plans. His chilling conclusion was death before detransition. So it doesn't really give too much information, and it is an anonymous source, but if true, I can definitely feel for the mother, because it's like, obviously you don't want your kids to kill themselves. And when you're put into a position of like, I don't want them to die, and everyone's telling me that they're going to kill themselves unless I do this, and this is against all of my beliefs. But if I go against my beliefs, maybe they'll get to live. And if they're alive, maybe they can realize the choices that they have made have been poorly informed, you know? I wouldn't even say she bought into the propaganda, because like, the emotional manipulation of your child will kill themselves. I'm not a parent, so I can only imagine how well that would work on the majority of people, because nobody wants their kids to die, right? So it's a very, very disgusting emotionally manipulative tactic. The conservative mom didn't do her own research about trans. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, she definitely shouldn't have signed that paperwork, but I don't know. I don't know if I can really blame her that much when she was against it the entire time, tried to convince him not to do it, and even in his manifesto, he comes out and talks about how his mom was not supportive of him in any way, shape, or form. So it's a Florida law that banned assassination classroom blocked by judge. A Florida law that was used by conservative groups to ban assassination classroom. I don't know what that is. I haven't read that manga or watched that anime. And other famous anime titles has been overturned by a federal judge. Signed into law in 2022 but expanded in 2023, the law was struck down on the basis of it being a violation of the First Amendment right to free speech. The Florida bill did two things in relation to book censorship: demanded school libraries to remove any book containing obscene content, and it empowered any resident of any county in Florida to demand any remaining titles removal from the libraries. We covered how this law was used to ban assassination classroom in one Florida county in 2023, but that was just the beginning, with Pen.org documenting nearly 5,000 cases of banned books in Florida, the highest in the nation. Manga fans were not the only ones critical of the bill that was just overturned. The bill was also criticized by leftist activists, who called it the Don't Say Gay bill due to a provision in the bill banning students from learning about LGBT+ issues in school. It wasn't specifically the LGBT issues, it was not discussing sexuality with, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, 3rd grade and below. So the bill that they're talking about is actually titled the Parents and Education Bill, and it was supposed to remove obscene, sexually explicit content from schools in order to get rid of like the transgender ideology books that kids were reading that also had images of like blowjobs and shit in them. Like we've seen these books all over Twitter before. Starting in late 2024, conservative activists affiliated with Moms for Liberty started demanding the removal of all manga titles and light novels from schools and public libraries. This follows a trend of activists in conservative-leaning states such as Texas and North Carolina moving to censor anime. We covered the attempts of Texas Republicans to criminalize the owning of anime such as Goblin Slayer and many other titles. Governor Ron DeSantis has vowed to appeal the ruling all the way to the Supreme Court. Judge Carlos Mendoza, the judge who overturned the Florida bill, is an Obama appointee. It's anyone's guess how the more conservative Supreme Court will rule. And then to follow on the back of this article, I also brought up judge strikes down key parts of Florida law that led to removal of books from school libraries. A federal judge has struck down key parts of a Florida law that helped parents get books they found objectionable removed from public school libraries and classrooms. It is a victory for publishers and authors who had sued after their books were removed. U.S. District Judge Carlos Mendoza in Orlando said Wednesday's ruling that the statute's prohibition on material that described sexual conduct was overbroad. Mendoza, who was appointed by President Barack Obama, also said that the state's interpretation of the 2023 law was unconstitutional. Among the books that had been removed from Central Florida schools were classics like Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, Richard Wright's Native Son, and Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. Historically, librarians curate their collections based on their sound discretion, not based on decrees from on high, the judge said. There's also evidence that the statute has swept up more non-obscene books than just the ones referenced here. And this is where the issue comes in. If we're going to fight against communists who subvert language and try to claim they're not doing something while they are doing something, and then any legal move to try and prevent them from doing indoctrination or showing sexual things to young children under 3rd grade gets extrapolated to anyone being like, well, I want you to get rid of all of these books because they have things I don't like, and then we should also get rid of anime, question mark, for some reason. It just feels like, what are we supposed to do here? What are we supposed to do to fight back against this? Is if as soon as we try to, the censorious people on the other side immediately start trying to power grab in the same exact way. And it's like, these guys aren't even playing with subversion of language. They're just outright being like, yeah, get rid of it. Get rid of the anime, get rid of the Slaughterhouse-Five, just get rid of it. So at least they're honest about what they want to get rid of, but I still don't like them. Demand parents actually parent? Wouldn't they claim that this is parents actually parenting? If parents are going to the school and saying, I don't want Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five to be in the school library because it is offensive for some reasons? This is what we're concerned about with Texas. That's why I brought this up. Because apparently, despite how jaded I am, I still have a little bit of hope that had yet to be snuffed out about people being reasonable. Book series showing violence in classrooms under review by Horry County Schools. This was in September 23rd, 2024. Controversial book series found in Horry County school libraries is now under review, bringing relief to at least one worried parent. Jennifer Hannigan said her daughter is in 9th grade. All right, don't care. You are complaining about literally nothing, man. Recently checked out a book called Assassination Classroom from the school's library. The book, part of a Japanese manga series described as science fiction comedy in which students attempt to kill a teacher who has supernatural powers, shocked Hannigan when she first flipped through the pages. Even if I didn't have children, I would not want a child to read this book. I mean, there's girls in lingerie hopping on top of men in the book. Hannigan claims the book shows pictures of violence, guns, and other content she believes is inappropriate for students her daughter's age. In the book, they'll have several chapters that are telling you a killing is in the title of some nature. There's also several pages where there's handguns, rifles, knives, and potions, and it talks about killing in the pages. Horry County Schools confirmed the book has been temporarily removed as the whole series is being reviewed. WMBF News was told this process takes 30 days. Hannigan said she's questioning how this book got into her daughter's school in the first place, arguing that it's too mature for its audience within school libraries. Yeah, no, if it's in a high school, I literally don't give a shit. Like, this is normal for high school reading, and it's not going to be any worse than any of the classics people read. Woman needs to be called a slur. She does. She needs to be called a slur. And this is what I was saying, right? Like, these people will immediately try to, like, exploit any law that's attempting to do something decent. So, like, what do we do here? I don't want the government to be meddling more than they have to be. And I don't trust the government to actually enact things in a good way. But when you have to deal with people who use subversion of language, and then as soon as you try to do something, the moral busybodies of horseshoe theory come and try to censor you in a similar way but for different reasons. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck are you even supposed to do? No, my 17-year-old is still my baby. Only the Wiggles and Barney are age appropriate. I mean, my grandma had some wild things about what was age appropriate, but I could just play those things at my mom's place. They just exasperated that there is a perceived need for laws about this shit. I wish there wouldn't be. It would be nice if we didn't have people trying to promote sexual topics to little children in schools. And I feel like a way to fix that would just to be collectively no longer in psychosis and just fire those people. Like, why try to make rules about what can and can't be taught instead of just firing the people who try to bring in sexual topics to children? Why can't we just do that? Graham Linehan arrested at Heathrow for gender-critical tweets. On September 2nd, Irish comedy writer Graham Linehan, creator of the hit sitcom Father Ted, was arrested at London's Heathrow Airport upon arrival from Arizona. He was detained by 5 armed police officers over 3 gender-critical posts on X, criticizing transgender activists' access to women's spaces. Linehan described the experience as traumatic, involving a strip search, a panic attack, and hospital treatment for high blood pressure. Bailed without charges, he faces a ban from posting on X, highlighting growing concerns about free speech and police priorities in the UK amid public backlash. Imagine living in the UK. Arrested for gender-critical tweets is the most fictional thing of all time. It really is. The Caliphate of Brit-Bongistan. When Glinner landed at Heathrow, he was met by 5 armed police officers and immediately arrested. His crime? 3 gender-critical tweets. As Graham said in his Substack, in a country where pedophiles escape sentencing, where knife crime is out of control, where women are assaulted and harassed every time they gather to speak, the state had mobilized 5 armed officers to arrest a comedy writer. Graham's single bail condition is that he does not go on X. We do not believe Graham's arrest or the bail conditions imposed were lawful. We'll be backing him all the way in his fight against these preposterous allegations and the disproportionate response from the police. What's it like living in the UK? I can't complain. That's good. No, I mean, I can't complain. I might go to jail. That is a very apt comic. And this guy, Mario Neufel, tweeted out, UK arrests more people over social media posts than Russia. In Russia last year, 400 people were arrested for things they posted online. In Britain, the number was more than 8 times higher, with 3,300 arrests. The offenses range from offensive language to controversial opinions or posting the lyrics of a song.
400 people were arrested for things that they said on social media. 400 people in Russia. Obviously, this country is very different. How many people do you think were arrested in Britain for things they said on social media last year?
Go on.
Take a guess.
I've no idea.
3,300.
Really? Arrested for what they'd said on social media?
Yeah.
Really? What sort of things get you arrested?
Well, one example I give in my show is there was a young woman from Liverpool called Chelsea Russell. Her friend was killed in a car crash, a 19-year-old woman.
Spicy cat raid.
And she posted the lyrics of his favorite song on her Instagram.
I remember this.
And there was a rap song, so the lyrics contained several instances of the N-word. Okay? She was arrested, prosecuted, found guilty, given 500 hours of community service and a fine, tagged, and for a year she was under 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. curfew.
My goodness.
In Britain.
In Britain.
In 2018. In Russia.
Which is insanity. Actual insanity. Wait, the UK is real and not the setting for Doctor Who. It's actual insanity that you can get arrested for this shit. And it's really worrying that might end up... Like, I could see with how bad things are getting that people will just be like, yeah, who cares? And we'll just start doing that here in the US. You agree the UK is not a real place? It cannot be. 2018 and right now, things are worse. Way worse. Lucy Connolly has been released from prison after serving 10 months of an unjust 31-month sentence for a single deleted post. The UK government's crackdown on free speech remains a concern, but it's great to see Lucy reunite with her family. X will continue to be steadfast in our support of users' rights to freedom of speech on the platform. Lucy Connolly, a user of the X platform, posted a comment, this was back in May of this year, in the aftermath of the Southport massacre in the UK. As a mother who lost her firstborn at 19 months old and has a 12-year-old child, she was triggered by the unjust suffering and death of children attending their local dance class. Her understandable frustration came out in her post on X. After cooling down on a walk with her dog, she decided to remove the post. Despite the post being live for only a few hours and her subsequent deletion of the post, she was arrested and charged under Section 19 of the Public Order Act for publishing material intending to stir up racial hatred. Based on the advice she received while in custody, she pled guilty and was convicted. Lucy believed a guilty plea would result in her being able to get back to her family faster. Instead, she was sentenced to 31 months in jail because of her post and denied the ability to release on temporary license, which allows allows inmates up to 2 days at home with their families. The Free Speech Union, a nonprofit that X has worked with on similar matters, is providing Lucy with representation to appeal her sentence. X wholeheartedly supports Lucy and the Free Speech Union in this case. But what did the post say? Does anybody have what her post said? Censored version of the post is mass deportations now, set fire to all of the fucking hotels full of the censored. I'm assuming that says bastards. Why would they censor the word bastards, for all I care? While you're at it, take the treacherous government and politicians with them. I feel physically sick knowing what these families will now have to endure. If that makes me racist, so be it. That's, it's literally not even anything bad. You could, I guess, make the rationale like, oh, she's calling for violence because she didn't specifically say set fire to the hotels while there's no people in them. But like, yeah, after a mass killing, I really can't blame her. You know, I really can't blame her. I saw this, and it said, AFD party has recorded 6 deaths among its politicians within a short period of time in the run-up to the upcoming local elections in North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany. Germany's far-right AFD party suffers series of candidate deaths ahead of local elections. Up to 6 candidates for Germany's far-right AFD party have died in the last few weeks before local elections in the large western state of North Rhine-Westphalia. Police have made it clear that there is no evidence of any criminal activity in these deaths, but this means that new ballots will have to be printed and some postal voters will have to cast their votes again. I'm gonna be real honest. If 6 candidates for one political party all mysteriously die weeks leading up to an election, and police try to say, oh yeah, there's no criminal activity, I just don't believe you. I just don't believe this. Yeah, this is some Mexico behavior. This is some Mexico before that woman got elected president behavior. We've investigated ourselves and found no wrong. It's just a coincidence that 6 of them have mysteriously died. North Rhine-Westphalia has a population of 18 million and 20,000 candidates are reported to be running for office in the September 14th local election. I'm sorry, what did you just say? 20,000 candidates? What the fuck is going on in Germany? I am flabbergasted. Germans, please explain. 6 out of 20k doesn't seem that bad. Yeah, it doesn't seem that suspicious when you have that 20,000 candidates. That's an insane number. However, the death toll has raised questions on social media. The country's interior ministry has noted that candidates from other parties, including the Greens and Social Democrats, have also died. Okay, well, the AFD became Germany's second largest party in February's federal elections, expanding from its eastern stronghold into areas in the west. The Domestic Intelligence Agency classified it as a right-wing extremist organization in May before suspending that designation due to a court appeal that is still pending. In 3 eastern states, its AFD affiliates continue to be listed as extremist. I guess that maybe this is just an aging population issue. If people from like Greens and Social Democrats have also died, it's just that AFD had the most out of 20,000 candidates. Initial reports focused on the news that 4 of its candidates had died, and then the deaths of 2 candidates also emerged. That seems like ESL translation, sparking a wave of conspiracy theories on social media. AFD co-chair Alice Weidel made no attempt to defuse the speculation, reposting a claim by retired economist Stefan Homburg that the candidate's death toll was almost statistically impossible. If it's 6 out of 20,000, I feel like that becomes less statistically impossible. Because 20,000's a big fucking pool, man. However, when asked about the rumors in his party, the AFD's second-in-command in North Rhine-Westphalia, Kay Gottschalk, admitted on Tuesday that what I have in front of me, but this is only partial information, does not support these suspicions at the moment. He told the podcast Berlin Playbook to Politico that his party wanted the cases investigated without immediately entering the territory of conspiracy theories. Yeah, and I guess we don't have any information on how they died, maybe. Grok has an answer here, but it is Grok, so like, you know, beacon of salt. Post highlights 6 deaths among AFD politicians in North Rhine-Westphalia before local elections on September 14th, with 2 additional deaths reported recently, prompting an investigation by the state deputy leader. Amid the party's rising influence after a 20.8% vote share in February's federal election. That does make it sound more suspicious. Historical context reveals AfD's shift from anti-Euro stance in 2013 to a far-right focus on immigration, with leaders like Bjorn Höck facing controversy over Nazi-era remarks, suggesting the deaths could be linked to political tension in Germany's polarized climate. Though no evidence confirms foul play. Comparisons to Mexico's pre-election violence noted in the thread align with the studies like the 2018 Journal of Peace Research analysis showing a 20% increase in candidate assassinations during competitive elections in unstable regions, raising questions about whether similar dynamics could be in play at NRW. Attempt to partner African countries with Japanese cities triggers xenophobic backlash, by the way. Well, Japan has been the most xenophobic country for everyone's lifetime, so... The cities in Japan have received thousands of complaints amid confusion over a scheme that was intended to foster closer ties. An attempt to promote friendship between Japan and countries in Africa has transformed into a xenophobic row about migration after inaccurate media reports suggested the scheme would lead to a flood of immigrants. Yeah, but have you ever asked why does there need to be a promotion of friendship between Japan and African countries? They tried to cover it up. It very much sounds like they did. The controversy erupted after the Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA, said this month that it designated 4 Japanese cities as Africa hometowns for partner countries in Africa: Mozambique, Nigeria, Ghana, and Tanzania. The program, announced at the end of an international conference on African development in Yokohama, will involve personnel exchanges, and events to foster closer ties between the 4 regional Japanese cities, Imabari, Kisarazu, Sanjo, and Nagai, and the African nations. Media coverage in the 4 countries and the Japanese language references to the articles have been blamed for triggering an ugly backlash on social media in Japan, along with a wave of angry calls and emails to the Japanese cities' offices. Some critics appeared to believe that hometown status meant that people from the African countries would be given special permission to live and work in their Japanese partner cities. No, it's because that was literally written in the article, and that is what the people were saying was happening. That wasn't any misconstruations. What are you talking about? If immigrants come flooding in, who is going to take responsibility? Said one social media post. One post on X claiming that Kisarazu was seriously considering handing over the city to Africans attracted 4.6 million views. The 4 cities have received thousands of complaints from confused residents. Our team of 15 officials spent a whole day handling hundreds of phone calls and thousands of emails from residents, an official in Sanjo told Agents of France Presse. The town had received 350 phone calls and 3,500 emails since Monday, the official said, while Imabari has fielded 460 calls and 1,400 emails from residents asking if the town had adopted a new immigration policy. Japan's chief cabinet secretary, Yoshimasa Hayashi, said the claims were baseless. There are no plans to promote accepting immigrants or issuing special visas, he told reporters. The city has also attempted to set the record straight. The mayor of Kisarazu, Yoshikuni Watanabe, pointed out that the city had hosted Nigerian athletes during the delayed 2020 Tokyo Olympic and Paralympic Games, adding that project would not lead to accepting migrants. He added, our initiatives will involve cooperating in the education of young people based on discipline through baseball and softball. It's not a program that will lead to relocation or immigration. The mayor of Sanjo, Ryo Takizawa, said in a statement, it is not true that the city has requested to accept migrants or immigrants from Ghana, and the city has no plans to make such a request in the future. Some attributed the outcry to an article in the Tanzania Times that carried the headline, Japan dedicates Nagai City to Tanzania. The word dedicates was translated on social media into the Japanese word sasageru, which could be interpreted to mean the town was being sacrificed to Tanzania, according to the Asahi Shimbun newspaper. Nigeria's government also appeared to have misunderstood the details of the program, describing Kisaragu as a location open to Nigerians willing to live and work in Japan. Japan's government, it added, would create a special visa category for skilled people from the West African country. Japan's foreign ministry has reportedly asked the Nigerian government to issue a correction, while JICA, a government agency, said several media organizations had published articles containing inaccuracies and potentially misleading information. JICA is currently urging the relevant local media and the African government to promptly correct the inaccuracies contained in their coverage, it said on its website. Skilled in enrichment, I am sure. Yeah, when we read those articles, I don't think we read from the websites that were mentioned here. I can't remember which websites they mentioned or where they were, but they mentioned some article. And I don't think that's the website we read it off of, but we did read the one from Nigeria, I believe, and then we also read one from Japan. So, this was August 25th. Scratch pointed out that the mayor of Kisarazu City released a statement claiming that they have no knowledge of accepting any immigrants or relaxation of standards. And we read this on stream previously, and then I tweeted out, I wonder how this level of supposed misinformation got spread around. Hopefully the local government officials are trying to clear it up and not cover it up. We'll see how this develops. And I had this article. 4 African countries get official hometowns special visa category in Japan. This was from Business Insider Africa. Editor's note. An earlier version of this article incorrectly reported that the Japanese government had granted special visa categories under the JICA Africa Hometown Initiative. This has been updated to clarify that no special visas or immigration privileges have been issued under the newly launched program. What's the special visa category from the archive link? Special visa program for African talent. It's an entire section here that says, Director of Information at the State House, Ibiodan Olandunjoy, confirmed for the Nigerian side that the partnership will include a special visa category for highly skilled, innovative, and talented young Nigerians wishing to live and work in Kisarazu. Artisans and other blue-collar workers willing to upskill will also benefit from the special dispensation visa. Similar arrangements are anticipated for Tanzania, Ghana, and Mozambique, providing structured pathways for professional development while supplying Japan with needed workforce talent. Demographic pressures and workforce needs it also has here. So let's see what was removed. Special visa program and demographic pressures are 2 paragraphs in the archive. Both of those have been removed. City selection and strategic purpose. So they even removed the paragraph talking about the aging population. Japan faces an aging population with nearly 30% of its citizens age 65 and above, and fewer than 60 working-age individuals per 100 retirees. This demographic shift has intensified the country's need for foreign labor to support key sectors such as technology, manufacturing, agriculture, and healthcare. Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba acknowledged these challenges, but emphasized that locally rooted solutions are essential for Africa's development. And this part was left in the non-archived article. That's really interesting that the push for we need to import foreign labor for the aging population was part of what was removed. Because you can see here, none of that is above, and then they continue with the Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba emphasized the locally rooted solutions are essential for Africa's development. That's really interesting. They removed the age statement. Yeah, they be lying, they be hiding. That's crazy. 100% cover up. I'm glad I checked the fucking archive of this. God damn. And this guy posted, African Reddit is very angry that the Japanese government is no longer importing African migrants. The Japanese government has officially backtracked on their plan to import African migrants after receiving massive backlash from the Japanese public. And someone said, I honestly can't wait for Japan to collapse due to its demographic crisis. Japan will set an example to the rest of the Western world on why immigration is important to keep the numbers of working people stable. When you become too far right and bigoted, this is what happens. Let Japan dig its own grave, all in the name of intolerance. Do not redeem. Have children or else. Lower the cost of living or else. You wonder if he's a troll? Yeah, I could be a troll. Could very much be a troll. That's why I said I want to go see the Reddit r/Africa voice. What is the chances that this is also a private Reddit? This guy said, as an African, it's funny how we care about Japanese not wanting Africans in their country, forgetting countries on our own continent, our own brothers and sisters in South Africa, occasionally carrying out xenophobic attacks on fellow Africans just because they're immigrants. Our inferiority complex has led to us to think Japanese acceptance matters more than our own brothers and sisters' acceptance. Our forefathers died for our independence from brutal colonizers. Let's act independent, work hard for our civilizations, just like Japan, and the rest of the foreign countries we admire. Their forefathers built their countries so that their descendants may enjoy their countries. Let us do the same, no matter the cost, no matter the sacrifice that needs to be done to reach our goals. China went through the Great Leap Forward where millions died to be where it is now. An upcoming superpower. Okay, alright, I don't know if this is a troll or not. Because, like, why would you ever praise the fucking Great Leap Forward, man? If we believe in democracy, we should respect the Japanese decision. They have spoken, it's their country, and we should listen. I agree. I agree with everything here. Except for maybe I'm confused on China went through the Great Leap Forward where millions died to be where it is now. An upcoming Imagine how much of a superpower China would be if they didn't have the Great Leap Forward. Imagine how much more advanced of a nation they would be if they didn't kill all of their female babies for a period of time. Are you saying this because they don't want African migrants? Are you for immigration in Africa or only the West? Great question. Import? Are they importing goods or services called Africans? Anyway, I support student exchange and training Africans in various industrial science and technology skills. Africans immigrating permanently to Japan or other countries in large numbers I don't support. It's a form of brain drain. Africa will lose its skilled force who would help alleviate through painfully underutilized and underfunded try to solve our problems. For Japan's case, the population is plummeting at an unprecedented rate. Sooner or later, they will have to import immigrants whether they like it or not. I don't think they'll have to. Labor is goods and services. Sure, let's see where they're at in 30 years. Let's see here. No regrets. They can do whatever they want. It's their country. Based. Africa is the best country. That's a troll comment. Japan's population is 4 times the size of Texas with half the landmass. Is Texas also having a population crisis? I mean, they've been claiming we're having a population crisis, and to be fair, our birth rate is rapidly declining in the US, but the answer to a rapidly declining birth rate is not to then import tons of people. It is, how do we figure out how to get our citizens having children again? If anyone's solution to our country's birth rate is falling is to not take care of their citizens and figure out how to get them to reproduce, but to just import foreign labor, those people are not working for their country, they are working against it. It is treasonous at best. Woke California town to paint over historic mural over complaints that it's crass. Let us see what they are wanting to paint over. A historical mural that's been on display for nearly 20 years in a California town is set to be painted over after people complained about its show of nudity. The painting, titled "The Capture of the Solid, Escape of the Soul," was first introduced to Oakland's Piedmont Avenue in 2006 by Rocky Reich-Baird. The mural depicts a historically accurate representation of the Ohlone Native Americans' horrific extinction by Spanish missionaries, including images of Ohlone natives being handed blankets and clothing infected with smallpox. See, my immediate reaction is, this happened, so it's not a problem. But also, there are people who claim that, like, oh, they knew that they would kill the natives by giving them the smallpox blankets, and it's like, I don't think anybody had that level of bio knowledge at that point in time. Yeah, nudity is the worst part. Also, hold on. If this is a mural depicting horrific extinction, why is the nudity the problem? Germ theory didn't come until way later, 1860. There was no germ theory of disease in the 1600s. Yeah. A recent email sent to tenants of the Castle apartment building where the mural is located said the longtime piece of art will be taken down because some have interpreted the nude Ohlone man in the painting as offensive. SG Real Estate co-director of property management, Gracie Rivera, told residents it was time to retire the mural so that it can be inclusive, welcoming environment for everyone. The email obtained by San Francisco Gate read, "Over the past several weeks, we've received feedback from members of our community identifying aspects of the mural that may be interpreted as offensive. After careful review, we believe it's appropriate to retire the mural to ensure our shared spaces reflect an inclusive, welcoming environment for everyone. It's unclear how many people complained to property management about the mural and when it will be removed. Daily Mail contacted Rivera for comment. I don't understand. The capture of the solid Escape of the Soul created by artist Rocky Riche Baird is set to be removed after a complaint was sent to property management over its display of nudity. Wouldn't people on the left say that this is censorship of history because it's depicting something terrible that happened to the Native Americans? Once again, Karens ruin everything for no reason. Very strange. The news has infuriated locals who have appreciated the painting for decades, including fellow muralist Dan Fontes. Fontes, the man behind the iconic giraffe and zebra paintings on the town's freeway columns, said Riche Baird made sure to properly research each painting he created, including this one. I don't think there's another mural artist who has depicted all of what our colleges, Laney Mills, have been teaching all along. I see the tales of the Native American community being disrespected and pushed out. It harkens back to the business of, if you don't know your own history, you're condemned to repeat the mistakes of the past. Shit, man. We're gonna get smallpox blankets in current year. The artist went on to describe Riche Baird as a genius whose mural is visited by so many to reinforce the lessons that history teaches us all. Other locals who have been enamored with the mural for years are equally upset about the recent news of its destruction. I'm pissed, Tim O'Brien, who watched the mural come to life 2 decades ago, said. I told my sister up in Seattle and she's pissed. He recalled the mural sparking a lot of controversy when it was first unveiled, as protesters took to the street over its inclusion of nudity. The nudity literally isn't even the point. Who can get upset about that, man? That's so weird. That's such a weird thing to care about here. O'Brien believes there will always be those who care more about property values than the true meaning behind the art. Anytime there's something you do and put your heart and soul into, somebody doesn't give a rat's ass. They're only concerned about their property values. The controversial mural has long been the target of vandalism, as people quickly scratched out the genitals of the naked man and wrote graffiti near offensive body parts, according to Valerie Weinmiller. Chat. What fucking world are we living in where vandals are covering up genitalia instead of drawing genitalia on things? What fucking dimension have I time traveled to? What is this? Weinmiller, another local and neighborhood activist, has taken it upon herself to remove the graffiti over the years. I think it's a really important piece in the neighborhood simply because it's not commercial, she told SF Gate. So much of our public space is really commercial space. I think it's really important to have non-commercial art that the community can enjoy. Riche Baird, who now lives a reclusive life out of state, is no stranger to his mural sparking fury in the Golden State. He painted at least 4 murals in Oakland, all of which he extensively researched and planned out ahead of time. Riche Baird painted 2 that depicted the key system train line in town, but they were later removed. He painted the capture of the solid, Escape of the Soul, over 6 months and depended solely on community donations to create it. For it, he built his own scaffolding and placed a small wooden box to accept coin and cash donations. In total, Riche Baird spent about 8 hours every day creating the mural. Yeah, I don't really see the problem with the mural. And yet these same people censoring are the same ones who are fucking fetishists and degenerates. I just again, they're just eating themselves. This is insanity. How about we just stop and be reasonable? Can we do that?